Hello, men. Disaster has struck. In an attempt to fix my Windows, I did a Windows repair thingy. As a result, the fucking thing switched around some sound options, so when I checked them before recording tonight's Burning Wheel, they looked okay. They weren't. No audio was recorded. We spent 2 hours of what I think was probably one of the best sessions so far, recording to a dead microphone, which is very, very sad, I think. Due to the nature of Burning Wheel, we can't really redo it because it is roleplay, and the way it works, it would seem weird if we tried to redo the exact same things we already did. So I am going to make a slight summary of what happened. This, of course, is going to be nothing compared to the actual set, but it's the best we can do, and should not try and leave as big a gap as there would be if there was just nothing between this set and the other one. This would have been our 24th hour of Burning Wheel, but instead it's 22. So, here we go. As we left off, the crew were dealing with the jellyfish Svensak and the other men that slopped together with him. That thing had formed some sort of jellyfish that was sticking out the bottom of a boat. They hailed a guy and convinced him to help them drag the boat onto shore and the jellyfish onto shore. The boat comes off the jellyfish on the shore as it sort of plops out like pus from a cyst. And the guy makes off with the boat, happy. And then they sit there for a while and stare at this thing. They manage to drag the long feelers out of the water with a stick and an oar. And just it's there on the beach. And they're arguing about what to do with it. They eventually... they try to decide whether or not to tell the Logos, and while they're having the argument whether or not to tell the Logos, Dunstan walks off to tell the Logos. While this is happening, Axeman is off picking the boat apart from the big transport boat from the previous session. He gets a bunch of wood from it, and him and Dennis walks straight through town with a bunch of wood over to a guy called... What's he called? Yeah, over to Axeman's woman where she sells this wood. He takes some of the other wood as well to a guy called Gabnus, who agrees to fix up the banana, which is one of Axeman's beliefs, to make the banana better. And, yeah, he agrees to do that. Then Axeman fucks off again and dicks around. While they're having this argument about whether or not to inform the Logos, Dunstan has walked off to inform the Logos. So when the Logos priest comes in, Dunstan has a conversation with him, which goes pretty much the same as the last one, except this man is a bit more helpful. It was one of the best conversations we've ever done, and... well, it didn't record, sorry. You might see this guy again, though. The guy comes over and has a look at the thing on the beach, and he is a typical Logos guy. He is pale, he is blue-eyed, kind of marbly type eyes, and he's wearing sort of a half robe. And he has a look at this thing, and you can tell he knows what it's about, but he's not very forthcoming with the information, and Fricko nearly has a meltdown. He is, however, convinced not to punch this man. Eventually they leave him to deal with the jellyfish as the dark sun comes out. All but Fricko. No, wait, the other way around. Fricko is the only one that stays, and he stays to keep an eye out on what he's actually doing. He does this from a bush, and shut up, boys. And for fuck's sake, all that happens is pretty much the guy sits there, and he stares at the thing for the entire night, while what appears to be the dark sun slowly makes it disintegrate. As right before morning, before daybreak, the guy... scoops up what's left of the jellyfish, which at this point, from where Fricka was sitting, just looked like ash. He scoops it into a bag and makes off with it in his boat. At this point, they all meet up again and try to read some of the beads they got from, what's her face, Cytheria? What's her name? Sonia's aunt. And she manages to read some of it. It's very, very complex writing, and it's not easy for her to read. So she manages to make out a few things. She manages to make out that Cytheria, Sonia's aunt, appeared to be a chronicler for a group of 5 that did some exploring that was, considering the way it's written on this, Probably not something that was seen in very good light in the wall. Probably very like what our crew has been doing with all the slop and the things. Sorry. And yeah, there's some mention of something called the grey crab. And the way it's mentioned, it doesn't seem like, in context, to be an actual crab. It seems to be something else. What, they are not quite sure of. The people that her aunt fucked around with seemed to be explorers of some sort, and they used code names. One of those code names she could make out was Varro, and he was from Alsac. So next time, I think they're going to be heading to Alsac to try and find out some shit about him. This string of beads, as I explained, is not meant to be understood in one go. There's a lot of stuff that is not understandable without points of reference. For example, there's a mention of 3 islands they went to, and some architecture that that's reminiscent of the architecture they saw on the island that appeared shortly after Pilk sunk. They spent a little bit of time on. And it's the sort of thing you can't read properly unless you've seen something similar in real life. Similarly, 3 of the islands that has been chronicled, these dudes have visited. You would have to see the islands to be able to make sense of more of the beads. So it's like a slow burn. You learn something new every session, hopefully, from these beads. Was there anything else? I think that's about it. Yeah, and they're on their way to Alsac. And the banana has been made into a catamaran. And it's got 2 pontoons with a net in between. We will attempt henceforth to refer back to things that happened in this session and explain them a little bit whenever some of them comes up. We're probably going to forget some, but we're going to try because, well, you guys didn't get to hear this one, sadly, and I'm very salty about that because, like I said, I really think it's one of the better ones, but fucking Windows. Anyway, I'm sorry, but here's your summary.